Alright, so here's the deal with this. This is the factory one here without the heat shield on. Heat shield's over here. This is the one I got yesterday for this car. It's a MagnaFlow, and it's supposed to fit this Pilot, 2012 Pilot. And this thing's got all kinds of issues. It has the extra bung hole here for the O2 sensor, which the factory one does not have. This 2012 Pilot doesn't have the O2 sensor right here. It has it down farther down. And the problem with that is, this is how stupid MagnaFlow is. They put the brackets here for the factory heat shield to change it over. But once you put a plug in here for the bung, then you have to bend the crap out of this to make it right. The other thing they did is they gave, you notice here there's no studs in the holes. This one has studs. It's a factory. But they gave me the hardware for to replace the studs, but it wasn't long enough. And then if you put the one that's long enough in there, the right bolt, then you can't get it past the heat shield. So you got that. And then you can see here they got this kind of welded off bracket for the bottom bracket on the block, whereas the factory it's actually part of the cat, which that's, you know, it looked like it lined up. And then the main problem here on this one, the air tube was probably 6 inches from lining up back to the engine. And you can see here it's kind of got its own, it's welded on its own little pedestal, and it's not really part of the actual pipe. And it didn't have studs with it. It didn't have the bolts with it. So you look at the factory one, this is all one piece welded into the pipe. And I think just if you look here, it goes all the way down to the end of the pipe here. If you look at this one, it's actually elevated up past the pipe here. So there's no way that air tube is going to line up. I tried a couple different ways to line the air tube up. There was no way. Put the air tube back on this, slid this back in there, lined up perfect. So, you know, this thing's just a nightmare dealing with all the crap with it, as far as the extra bung hole, bracket's not really right, and then the air tube doesn't line up. You know, this is, I want to say at cost, it's like $550 for this thing. And I mean, I got it for, I think, $480 because I got a commercial account with them. But, yeah. This is, I would not get a MagnaFlow catalytic converter for any Pilot or any Honda personally. I mean, I've used MagnaFlow aftermarket sauce before and had good luck, but this is just junk, complete junk. Now this is, and I tried talking her into getting a Honda one originally. She wasn't, you know, it's obviously a lot more money for the Honda converter. I mean, they said just a normal customer without an account, it's like $1,100. We did get it for, if we set up an account, it was going to be like $700 and something with the core. So it is $200 to $300 more. But I wasted 3 hours yesterday running around looking for bolts, getting different bolts for this, getting the bung. You know, of course, nobody had the bung plug in stock anywhere around here. You're in St. Louis. These auto parts stores, I can go on a rant for hours on that, but I'm not going to get off on that. So anyway, this is NAPA's version of the aftermarket converter. And you can look, it's just like the factory here. It's got the studs already in it. It's down low like this one is. It's got the bracket here, and it's got the studs on the bottom here, so you're not fighting that. Now it does have its own heat shield, so you're not using, because you can see here on the factory one, you got a whole, this bracket here is where the heat shield bolts to, and this MagnaFlow actually had that. Of course, you can't put it back on with the bung plug in there without bending the crap out of it. But this one here has its own heat shield, which is kind of nice. It'll actually fit down in there easier, and you don't have to deal with putting this back on there, which is, you know, like I said, this is a factory one from 2012. So it's actually in pretty decent shape, but you know, these things can rattle if they come loose or whatever. So I'm kind of glad we're not reusing that. Now this one does have the bung hole on the bottom, like the MagnaFlow does, but since I got the plug for it already, and since we're not putting the factory heat shield on, it's not going to affect anything. So anyway, I think this was close to the same price. NAPA had it in stock. and I haven't tried to put it on yet, but it looks like it's going to work. So my suggestion for you, if you're going to do this job yourself, is either go spend the extra money and go to the dealer and get it. It's actually it'd be worth it. This will probably be the last aftermarket converter I ever put on a customer's Honda. I'll probably just tell them either we have to get the factory one, or we're just not going to do the job unless this one works really, really well. I'm assuming this has a 5-year warranty on it. I'm not 100% sure. I know the MagnaFlow does, which is, I think they all have to have 5-year warranties now, which is important because anything aftermarket, you can't, I mean, this is the Honda one, only lasts 7 years. So people always say, well, the factory's better, but I mean, really, this car's only got 130 or 40,000 miles on it. And this cat's 7 years old and it failed. So how much better are these guys going to do? I really don't know, but we'll definitely fill out the warranty card and send it in. So I'm going to give this a shot. This is from NAPA, and it looks like here's the part number on it if you have a similar vehicle. And like I said, this is bank 2, the front cat. There's 3 cats on this car. So anyway, now this one doesn't come with any of the gaskets or anything. This one actually did. Well, this one they said it was going to come with all the gaskets. All it came with was the top gasket to the actual intake man. It didn't come with any of the air tube gaskets or the exhaust gasket. So, and it also said it was air tube was pre-installed, and it wasn't pre-installed. There was no air tube with it. You just take your factory air tube off and transfer it. So anyway, my opinion of these MagnaFlow is not very good at all. So anyway, we're going to step this video back up. I'm going to slide this in there, put the air tube on, make sure it lines up, and then we'll pick it back up and hopefully have a better day today. I literally spent probably 3 hours yesterday and 4 trips to the auto parts store trying to make this one work. And in the end, the air tube just was not going to line up. So it's just, I basically probably losing money. I'm going to make a minimum wage on this job by the time I'm done. If I count in all the time I wasted with this cat and going to the auto parts store and trying to get it to work, you lose you're going to lose money on it. I'd been much better off, me personally, as a technician, to go and just get the factory one, but I couldn't talk her into it. And I understand that it's expensive, and she's probably on a budget or whatever. I don't know, but I understand not wanting to spend extra $200 or $300. But I think from now on, I'm just going to be. That's going to be, either we do the factory or I just don't. I pass on the job. So because the frustration level was super high. It's 110 degrees here in St. Louis. You're running back and forth to auto parts stores, dealing with this junk. It's probably Chinese junk. It's not worth it in the end, as far as mechanic goes. So anyway, I'm gonna put the air tube on this. Make sure you put your gasket back in here. Tighten that down. Here's the air tube. It's basically just 2 nuts. Goes up to the engine, and we're gonna put it on, line it up, make sure it lines up, and then we'll bolt this thing in and get this thing out of here. Alright, so you can see here, I don't have it bolted up yet, but I got it basically in where it's supposed to be. And you can see here that this air pipe goes right into where it's supposed to go. Yesterday, I should have took a picture of it, but I was so frustrated in this heat and running back and forth to the shops, to the auto parts store. With this up against the manifold or the head like that, this was like out to here. On the other one, the Walker, or the MagnaFlow. And there's no way you're going to bend that pipe all the way to there and have it, this pipe, you wouldn't want to bend it anyway, because if you end up breaking it, I'm sure it's $150 a Honda to get it. So that's the difference right there. That pipe was about right there. And there was no way to manipulate. I wasn't going to bend this to try to make it work, because I don't want air leaks and I don't want to deal with all that. So anyway, this one's perfect. I got to give NAPA props for this, because I called every single place around here and no one had it in stock, and they were all trying to sell that MagnaFlow junk. And I'm not sure what brand this is, if this is a NAPA house brand or what it is, but it's a perfect fit, you can see. And they actually had it in stock. It's crazy that they have something in stock for a 7-year-old vehicle. It's too much to ask for nowadays with these auto parts stores. Got to order everything or go to the hub or whatever. So I know I'm ranting a little bit, but I'm just really tired of these auto parts stores. They make our lives so much harder than what they should be. and they could do such a better job than they do. And you know, they're all like basically the McDonald's of auto parts. AutoZone, Oreillys, all of them. They're just Advanced Auto. I don't even know why they're in business. I've probably been there one time in the last 3 years where they actually had something in stock that I needed. Advanced Auto, I think, is the worst out of all of them. I don't know. But enough of the rant. We'll get this thing back together and, get it back together and get it back on the road. All right, so I'm just going to rant a little bit more, kind of make this a separate video from besides the repair video about this catalytic converter and the problem I had with it. The thing is, with something like this, if you're a do-it-yourselfer or, weekend warrior, work on stuff here and there, then this stuff probably doesn't affect you as much because, you're only doing it once in a while. The thing is, I do this 5, 6, 7 days a week sometimes and work on several cars throughout the week. And, I have a commercial account with Oreillys or whatever, and I use, dealers Oreillys, but they're all basically the same. The thing is, like, if you're doing this professionally, or if you're even a serious do-it-yourselfer, this is, time is money, and, they could do such a better job with this. They basically run it like a McDonald's. I mean, I hate to say it like that, but actually there's probably McDonald's that run more efficient than these auto parts stores. You got one person working the counter. I talked to AutoZone yesterday about getting a plug for this one since we weren't using this hole. And I told her, I said, I need an 18 by 1.5 thread plug for a catalytic converter. She goes, well, what car is that off of? Now, this is a true story. I'm not trying to bash anybody or whatever, but I said, it's not, you won't be able to look it up because I said, I just need, the plug. I gave her the threads and the size. And she couldn't even, she didn't even know how to, she said, we have to know what kind of car it is. I said, well, it's not going on a car. I said, this isn't on the car, so it's not going to list on the car for that. I just need the plug. Well, basically, she couldn't do it. So I ended up going to my normal Oreillys. They didn't have it. The hub's got it. The hub's another, 5 miles away. Then I go to the hub to get that. Finally get it. And it's just, you're running around. And, to me, yes, I charge X amount of money per hour to work on the car. But I actually ran around for the parts longer yesterday than I did ever working on the car. I only worked on the car for about an hour and a half getting this off and filming it and all that. I spent probably 3 hours running back and forth because the first thing I had to do, this didn't come with studs. I tried pulling these studs out. I heated them up. They weren't budging. So the chances of me getting them out without breaking were pretty slim. So then I had to I have a ton of bolts here that I saved throughout the years. So then I got to go through this pile of bolts, find the bolts that fit this, get that in there. Then the heat shield doesn't fit right. So then I got to bend the heat shield and find longer bolts for the heat shield because the factory bolts are this long. And if you're trying to wrap around this bung here, you need ones that are about that long. So then I'm looking, for bolts for that. I don't know. It's very frustrating, and this isn't just like a isolated incident. It happens all the time, and nobody cares. You can sit in here and throw a fit and cuss and all that, and I know like the heat yesterday probably played a factor in my frustration level, but the bottom line is nothing's going to change because the people that work at these places, they get paid by the hour, and if it doesn't work, it's not really their fault anyway, and if it doesn't work or whatever, they don't care. And your customer doesn't care. You've already gave them an estimate on how much it's going to be, and it doesn't matter if it takes you, it's only going to take me maybe 2.5 hours to do this job, probably less than that. If I wasn't filming, I could probably do it in about an hour and a half. But all that other time I'm wasting running around looking for parts, ordering parts, getting parts, looking for bolts that should have been supplied with it, looking for the longer bolts for the bottom here that should have been supplied with it. That's all time. I'm not actually working on the car, but I'm spending time on this project, and it's all time that I'm losing. So you go from making $60 an hour to making $10 an hour, and then it gets to the point where it's not worth it sometimes. So anyway, I know it's kind of a rant, but I don't know. I think these auto parts stores need to do a lot better than what they do, and it's gotten way worse over the years. Back in the day, you know, you go to AutoZone, they have all your parts, or anywhere, NAPA, they have everything. Now they have hubs, so the hub store has it, and all these other stores that are on the outlying areas of the hub are basically oil change stores. They have brakes and oil changes. Sometimes you can't even get the brakes. You got to go to the hub for that. If the car is older than 5 years old or 6, it can't be new because they won't have anything for it, and it can't be too old because they won't have anything for it. So you got to find that sweet spot, and then you pray that they have it, and then you may look online and see if they have it. You get there, they don't have it, got to go to the hub. So I don't know what to say about it. This is just kind of a rant. The frustration level is off the charts yesterday with this. Literally took a 2.5 hour job and turned it into an all-day thing, and now I am here the second day, calling around in the morning looking for another converter. The only person that had one in stock was NAPA, and thank God it looks like it's the right one. Even the dealer had to order it. It's like, okay, you're a dealer for Honda. This car is 7 years old, and you don't have. And these are pretty common. This isn't like this is something that never goes out. This is a pretty common thing that happens on these Hondas, and you got to order it. You know why? Why can't? Is it going to? You know, how much money is it going to cost you in inventory to have one on hand? You know, why does it take 2 days to get it? It's so frustrating and maddening. So that's my rant on these auto parts. And this is not, like I said, this is not an isolated incident. This happens all the time. So half the time I'm going to my main Oreillys to pick up parts, and then I got to go to the hub to pick up the rest of it. You know, if I'm doing a brake job and they might have the pads, they don't have both the rotors, or you know, you're doing a head gasket job and they might have the head gasket, but they don't have the valve cover gasket or whatever. It's always something, and you're constantly driving around and wasting gas and time. And I mean, they even deliver it to me, but I don't usually have it delivered because I can go and get it quicker than they can get it to me half the time, because you know, delivery's not all that fast either. So usually the only time I have parts delivered is if it's a kind of a big job and it's going to take me a while to tear something down. So anyway, that's my rant about the auto parts. I don't know. And my advice to you, if you're doing your own work, any kind of sensor, crank sensor, camshaft sensor, anything that's electronic, especially if it's something important, maybe not an O2 sensor or something like that, but crank, cam phasers, timing chain, all that stuff, go to the dealer and get those parts. Spend the extra money. Don't buy this junk. You know, it's going to cost you more in the long run. Doing the job twice, or doing the job and then, you know, next day it's broke down again. I've had several crank sensors go out from AutoZone and Oreillys and places like that. Go to the dealer, put it in, never have a problem. 2-3 years later, the car's still running fine. Stuff like this, catalytic converters, go to the dealer. I know it's going to hurt your wallet in the short term, but then you won't have all this frustration. You know, how much is your time worth? Brakes and simple stuff like that, you can probably still get away with going there. But and then I know some guys order Chinese parts online, you know, through Amazon and stuff. And some of their stuff is good if you know the right part number and you know exactly what you're getting. But if you're ordering some of this like just generic auto parts off of Amazon or online places, I don't know. I wouldn't do it, because for me personally, my time is worth more than that. If I have to sit there and do the job twice, then I don't want to do that. There's just no way. Sometimes you got to factor in, and then if you buy like a cheap timing belt or something like that online, or a water pump, what happens if that goes out and you overheat, blow the engine, or the timing belt snaps and you got bent valves? Things like that, it's just not worth it to me. I'll get the quality parts when I can, and use a dealer when I can. And then, like I said, I do use Oreillys quite a bit. It's my main source, but on like electronic stuff, crank sensors, cam, stuff like that, no way. Won't do it. It's not worth it. You can spend another $20-$30, get the right sensor at the dealer. And I realize now the dealer, they're not, you look at it, it's made in China or made in Taiwan or whatever. That's fine, but it's usually a higher quality part with it. So anyway, that's my rant on this crap. I need to get this thing out of here. It's 110 degrees again today in St. Louis. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it feels like it, especially when you're in a shop. So yeah, that's my rant for auto parts. I felt compelled to make this video because I'm just so aggravated lately with it, and you know, I know nobody cares, and it's going to fall on deaf ears, you know, with the auto part companies and stuff. But I wish there was something we could do as consumers to somehow combat it, or make them understand that we're not going to put up with this. And the thing is, too, you buy these parts from Oreillys, AutoZone, you know, these Chinese parts. Like this was. If you go online and look at it, this is like $550 for this. It's not like you're getting a great deal on this. I mean, it was less. It's less if you have a commercial account, but still, $500 for this, and it's you know, it doesn't even it's not even right. And if you can make it right by bending stuff and doing all that, is it worth it? Spend the extra couple hundred and go to Honda or whatever. It's not even like you're getting a good deal on the parts, you know. So I don't know, but whatever. I'm gonna end this. The rant's over. I'll hopefully forget about this one in a couple days. I got a bunch of them coming in later in the week. Probably working the weekend this week, so just gotta let this one roll off and go on to the next one. So anyway, that's my rant, and we'll see you on the next video.